The howl of a wolf. The strength of a bear. A warrior lost to a divine madness, foaming at the mouth, biting the iron rim of his shield, and charging into the enemy lines with no armor and no fear. This is the image of the Viking Berserker, the most feared and mythologized warrior of the Norse Age. A figure so terrifying, their legend has echoed through 1,000 years of history. But who were they, really? Were they an elite brotherhood of Odin's chosen, fueled by supernatural rage? Or were they simply the stuff of terrifying campfire stories, their reality lost to the mists of time? Today, we peel back the layers of myth to uncover the truth behind these legendary Norse warriors. We'll explore their origins, the terrifying nature of their battle fury, and how their legacy lives on in the most unexpected ways. This is the story of the Viking Berserkers. To understand the Berserker, we have to start with their name. The Old Norse word, berserker, has been a topic of debate for centuries. It's most commonly translated as bear shirt, suggesting warriors who wore the pelts of bears to channel the animal's ferocious spirit. This connects them to ancient warrior cults that existed across the Germanic world. These cults often revered totem animals, believing they could harness their power in battle. For the berserker, the bear was the ultimate symbol of raw, untamable strength. Another interpretation translates the name as bear shirt, implying they fought without armor, their bare chests a testament to their absolute fearlessness and reliance on pure rage for protection. Whether clad in bearskin or nothing at all, the message was the same. This was not an ordinary soldier. This was a force of nature. These warriors were seen as the champions of Odin, the Allfather, the Norse god of war, wisdom, and ecstatic fury. In the Sagas, Odin's chosen warriors were granted the gift of the Berserkergang, or the Berserk rage. This wasn't just anger. It was a complete transformation. A state of mind that blurred the line between man and beast, pushing them beyond the normal limits of human endurance and pain. So what did this battle fury actually look like? The Norse Sagas, our primary written sources, paint a chilling picture. They describe men who would howl and growl like wild animals before a fight. They would shiver, their teeth would chatter, and their faces would swell and change color. Then, the rage would hit. A wave of immense strength that allowed them to perform incredible feats on the battlefield. According to the 13th century saga of Ynglinga, they went about, mad as dogs or wolves, bit their shields, and were strong as bears or wild oxen. They killed people at a blow, but neither fire nor iron told upon them. This apparent immunity to weapons is a common theme. While likely an exaggeration, it speaks to the psychological terror they inspired. An enemy who doesn't react to being wounded is an enemy that seems unstoppable. But what could possibly cause such an extreme state? For a long time, the most popular theory involved hallucinogenic mushrooms, specifically the fly agaric, or Amanita muscaria. The idea was that berserkers would ingest these mushrooms to induce their trance-like fury. While it's a compelling image, there's very little direct evidence to support it. The side effects of this mushroom also don't perfectly match the symptoms described in the sagas. Another theory points to a form of self-induced hysteria. Through a combination of ritual, chanting, and psychological conditioning, these warriors could have worked themselves into a frenzied, adrenaline-fueled state. Think of it as a ritualistic trance. By performing specific rites before battle, they could mentally shed their human identity and fully embrace the persona of a savage predator, blocking out fear and pain. More modern theories suggest a psychological condition, perhaps something akin to post-traumatic stress disorder. The horrors of constant, brutal warfare could have triggered dissociative episodes, manifesting as uncontrollable rage. Ultimately, the true cause of the Berserkergang may have been a combination of all these things: ritualistic practices, psychological conditioning, and a deep-seated spiritual belief in their connection to Odin and their totem animals. On the battlefield, berserkers were not common soldiers. They were special forces, deployed to create chaos and break the enemy's spirit. They often formed the vanguard of an army, charging ahead of the main force to shatter the front line of an enemy shield wall. The sheer shock and terror of their attack could cause panic and disarray, creating an opening for the rest of the Viking warriors. They were also highly valued as personal bodyguards to kings and chieftains. King Harald Fairhair, the first king to unite Norway, famously used berserkers as his elite guard, his personal shock troops. Having a dozen shield-biting, Howling warriors at your side was a powerful status symbol and an extremely effective deterrent against would-be assassins. However, their ferocity was a double-edged sword. After the battle fury subsided, the sagas describe the berserkers as being left utterly weak and spent, as feeble as if they had just recovered from a serious illness. This period of exhaustion made them incredibly vulnerable. The same rage that made them invincible in battle left them defenseless in its aftermath. This raises the question: how much of the berserker legend is fact, and how much is fiction? The sagas were written hundreds of years after the Viking Age, during a Christian era that often looked back on its pagan ancestors as monstrous or magical. It's highly likely that the stories were embellished over time. The idea of warriors being immune to fire and steel is almost certainly a literary exaggeration, meant to make the heroes of the story seem even greater for having defeated them. Archaeological evidence for berserkers is also very thin. We haven't found gravesites with skeletons biting their shields or warriors buried in bare pelts. What we do have are artistic depictions. Perhaps the most famous is a piece from the Lewis Chessmen, a set of 12th century chess pieces found in Scotland. One of the warders, or rooks, is a warrior biting down on the top of his shield, his eyes wide with fury. Many historians believe this is a direct depiction of a berserker. Ultimately, the historical berserker was likely a real warrior who used a combination of terrifying appearance, psychological warfare, and a self-induced battle trance to become an incredibly effective fighter. The supernatural elements were probably added later, turning a fearsome man into an unforgettable monster. As the Viking Age drew to a close, so did the age of the berserker. The world was changing. The fragmented chiefdoms of Scandinavia were consolidating into organized kingdoms with professional armies and a strict rule of law. The wild, uncontrollable rage of the berserker no longer had a place in this new society. Their unpredictable nature made them as much a threat to their own side as to the enemy. They were a liability in a disciplined Christian army. The rise of Christianity played a huge role. The new religion condemned the old pagan practices, viewing the berserker's trance-like fury as demonic possession rather than a divine gift from Odin. This cultural shift led to them being officially outlawed. In the early 11th century, Iceland's laws declared that any man who went berserk would be sentenced to outlawry, banished and free to be killed by anyone. Norway soon followed with similar laws. The berserker, once the celebrated champion of a king, was now a dangerous outcast, a relic of a bygone era. They faded from the battlefield and retreated fully into the realm of legend and folklore. But their legacy was far from over. In fact, it's all around us. The most obvious example is in our language. When someone loses control in a fit of wild anger, we say they're going berserk. The untamable warrior archetype they created has had a profound impact on modern fantasy and pop culture. From brutish barbarians in Dungeons & Dragons to rage-fueled heroes in video games, the spirit of the berserker is everywhere. They represent a primal fantasy of shedding all inhibitions and unleashing a power that lies dormant within us. They are the ultimate expression of warrior rage, a concept that continues to fascinate and inspire storytellers today. They tap into a part of the human psyche that is drawn to the wild, the uncontrollable, and the powerful. The berserker is more than just a historical warrior, he is an enduring myth. So, the Viking berserker remains a figure caught between worlds. Between man and beast, history and myth, divine fury and psychological breakdown. While the true nature of their power may forever be debated, one thing is certain. Their howl has echoed through the ages, cementing their place as one of the most terrifying and compelling warriors the world has ever known.